Having money, craving, started shoebox saving, made some puzzle placements. I know what this life gon' come with, know that they gon' go and hate it when you make it.
Welcome back to Nationwide Sports Talk. I'm Matt Mackey, live from West Virginia. Wild and wonderful, y'all. Episode 104 is underway. We got a good one here. We're going to recap the NFL Conference Championships, the AFC and NFC, then break down a little bit of each game, what we thought about it, and our take on the losing side. That makes sense. We're talking about the Packers, how they lost, the Bills, how they lost, and what they could do in the offseason to rebuild to make it back to that conference game. Following that, we'll give you the recap of the college basketball week. A lot of postponers, so some of the games we were supposed to talk about didn't happen, but we'll give you a breakdown of the games that did. Plus, we'll get into the best games of the following week. Can't get better than that because college basketball is in full effect as of right now. Then we'll talk about a few NBA trade rumors we've heard around. I've only heard two, Kale. I'm not sure about him. But then we'll break down that, and then we'll end the episode on a good note and talk about the top 5 most impact players of the college football season. So it's going to end good. But before we start, we got to introduce the co-host live from Morgantown. Caleb, say what's up.
What's going on, guys? Hope everyone had a great week. Like Mackie said, we have a lot to talk about this week, so let's go ahead and break it down.
We're going to start off right with the NFL playoffs. The Super Bowl set. We got the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's kind of weird to say that second part, but it's happening. But the craziest of it all is Tampa Bay is playing in the Super Bowl at their home field. For the first time ever in NFL history that's happening, a home team is playing in the Super Bowl, which is very crazy, very unique to see, but it's happening. But before we talk about that next week, we got to break down this conference games. A lot of conflict happened in that Green Bay and Kansas City game, Caleb. You and I can both agree on that one. The AFC title game was a also wild, lopsided game, but NFC games coming first for the recap. And we'll talk about, let's just start with this. Why kicking the field goal?
I don't know. It's questionable to me. I mean, I think they started off slow to begin with. So, I mean, I feel like they just kind of, in the end, they beat themselves. I mean, we talk about it's hard to beat Tom Brady, especially in postseason, but in the end, not kicking the field goal, Devontae Adams was targeted 15 times, only caught, I think, 9. Just beating themselves up in the long run for Green Bay.
Yeah, we know how Tom Brady is in the postseason. Then we talk about, how Tom Brady is in game-winning drives. We get that 100%. But Tom Brady didn't beat them. Like you said, they beat themselves. Tom Brady threw 3 picks in that game. So he almost cost them the game to be exactly. But just a bad coaching on LaFleur's side, honestly. Like you have one of the best quarterbacks in the league on your side. It's 4th down, 10 yards to go, and you kick a field goal with 2 minutes left still. I mean, I get why he called it. Okay, kick the field goal. We're still down 2, but we have a chance to, get the ball again and then go back down the field. Because their defense has played phenomenal. The Packers even had a shaky first half, but the second half, they took off. I remember I got off work, came home. First play I saw when I turned the game on was Jair Alexander picking off Tom Brady from a tip pass from Mike Evans. I'm like, oh, we got a game going on here. And Aaron Rodgers, 346 yards, 3 TDs, not 1 pick he had. He didn't cost in the game. But then you can look at he could have ran that ball in on 3rd down. Yeah,
He could have.
Nobody there.
It was wide open, but talking about this game, I always go back to that O-line. I mean, they just gave up too many big sacks for. I think Pierre had 2, and then I think
Barrett had 3.
had 3. So, I mean, it was 9 times he's been sacked, I think, by this Buccaneers team in total. It's not good. That's definitely not something that you want to take. I mean, there was one possession where they had the chance they could have taken the lead. I mean, they got that big stop, and then he gets sacked on the 3rd and I think 10. So puts him back even farther. And it's, like I said, just beating themselves up. That's all it was.
And then it didn't help at all that Aaron Jones went down, didn't play the rest of the game. That was a big factor right there because now the run game is not there. Yes, they did have key components come back as A.J. Dillon. He was playing that game, but it's not like Aaron Jones. It's not the same environment, same atmosphere, same intensity you get like Aaron Jones brings to the table. So that hurt big. But since the Tampa Bay won. Congratulations them. They're going to the Super Bowl in Tampa Bay. So we know how it's going to be. And I know from what I heard, business owners down in Tampa aren't happy that the Bucks won. Because since the Bucks won, Green Bay fans can't come down and spend their money. Tampa fans already living in Tampa, so no one's buying hotels. No one's going to go out to eat because they can watch the game at home. So there goes the business drop because everyone raises the prices when it comes down to Super Bowl weekend and they're that city. Let's be real. You go to a bar, you spend $5 for a beer. Super Bowl weekend, you're going to that city. Nope, it's going to be $9 a beer. That's how it works because they can do it that way because it's the point of the process to pretty much gain what you lost throughout the year, help you out, help the business owners. But with that being said, Tampa business owners, I've heard, are not happy that Tampa is in the Super Bowl. Could you agree to that one?
I haven't heard that, but I can only imagine that they're not happy. Like you said, business is going to go down. You can just watch it at home. And I mean, let's be honest, business has probably been shaky for them for a while because of COVID. So they were looking for kind of their big break to make their money where they've been taking their losses. But it's tough down there for them when you got Tom Brady. I mean, you're probably going to win a Super Bowl. So, I mean, can you really be hurt about that?
Exactly. Couldn't agree more. So, since the game's over and the losing team has been decided, the Green Bay Packers, what do you think the Green Bay Packers can do, to get back in this title game for the third year in a row?
First, they have to get this talk of them not wanting Aaron Rodgers under control. I mean, that's all I've really been seeing on Skip and Shannon, SportsCenter. It's all over Twitter, everything. Is the talk that they don't know if he's going to return. And while it kind of doesn't seem like they want him to return because of that first-round draft pick in Jordan Love last year, he had an MVP year. I mean, there's no reason you don't bring him back. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He's been one of the best quarterbacks in the league. No reason you don't bring him back. Other than that, I think just getting that, 2 years in with LaFleur and Rodgers being together, I think their third year in, they always say third time's a charm. I think that's going to start click even more. I mean, their third time, they might even go to a Super Bowl because they were 2 years in a row in the NFC Championship. But, I mean, it's obvious. I think wide receivers and more weapons for them. I think that's the more obvious thing.
And here's what I took from, listening to Colin Cowherd this past week. And I really didn't realize this till, now, but Aaron Rodgers doesn't like rookie receivers. That's the crazy thing. I think now that makes more sense why they're not drafting that many. Because if you look at Davante Adams' stats his first 3 years, he would never throw the ball. Never got thrown the ball until he built that trust with Aaron, where Aaron knows, I can throw the deep ball. You got me. So with that being said, do you bring in a veteran wide receiver? Do you bring in a veteran skill player to help that out? Because it's someone you can trust. You can look back at the stats for previous years. Now the kid straight out of college you can trust. And that's what I think they should do. Target a big-time name out there in the market this year. I don't know who's out there yet.
There's a couple. I know Corey Davis is.
Is Juju out there?
I think Juju's out there. I mean, there's a couple key players who I think they could go get. They just need help. I think that's all it is offensively.
Their defense played phenomenal. They played great. Yes, like I said, it was a shaky first half, but they got it locked in stone. And then it kind of hit him in the face when Aaron Rodgers kept saying, go give me a stop, just give me back on the field, give me back on the field. They got him back on the field. He didn't do shit.
Yeah. So
it's like, all right, I'm giving you my all. Why aren't you doing the same thing on my side? The O-line's phenomenal. Aaron Jones probably going to want too much money. So he won't be around, but you have a good A.J. Dillon back there who held the ball pretty well. Then you got Davante Adams, still best receiver in the league. Then you got a great tight end with Tonyan over there. So you just need another guy on the deep side, and you're good to go. Your defense is set.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So now flip over to the other conference, AFC title game. Kansas City is back again in the Super Bowl, beating the Bills 38-24. And let's just say Pat Mahomes is just proved he's the best in the game. He's literally boom best. And you can just tell by his demeanor, when they were down 9-0, he literally went on the sideline and said, don't worry, we got this. Don't worry about it, man. Just keep your head. We got this. Don't worry about it. Brush it off. and boom, that happened. When Hardman fumbled, muffed that punt, they came off sideline. Said, "Don't worry, we got this. Ain't nothing new to us. We got this." Like they don't care. Like they know they're going to come back and win the game.
Well, very next play, they were out there and Harmon scored that touchdown for him.
Exactly. So
I mean, I think
Mahomes boosts his confidence by giving that touchdown.
Yeah, for sure. I think it just goes to show whether you're looking at Tyreek Hill. I mean, watching Tyreek Hill, he's the fastest man in the league. I mean, he's short, but he's just so quick. It's kind of ridiculous. And I love watching it, but it's just like, kind of get jealous. I'm like, how are you that fast?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me. He's burning pro athletes. And I think you just go down the roster, and while this team is stacked, I mean, you just got to give it to Patrick Mahomes. He's that good. But then again, I mean, he's in a perfect offense for him. Has perfect weapons around him. I mean, I think Kansas City's really – they bought in at the perfect time around the right people, and it paid off, and it has paid off, and it will continue to pay off.
So looking at the Bills side, Josh Allen had a average game, you could say. Had 287 yards, 2 TDs, 1 pick. But rushing, he did his thing. 7 carries, 88 yards. He led the team in rushing that game. And his main receiver was Cole Beasley, 7 catches, 88 yards. Like I said, they're up 9-0. They're living high, living large. And then the Chiefs bounced back second quarter, scored 21 points on them. So that was kind of like a downfall, like, oh, shit. But then they tried to make a late push in that fourth quarter, but it didn't really help when when Kansas City scored again and get that touchdown, and it kind of hurt them in the long run. So looking at the Bills, what do you think they need to improve on in the offseason to make it back to the AFC title game?
I think 2 things. A, defensively, try to just somehow get someone, because the way I'm looking at it, I mean, I don't really – yeah, well, not only that, but I think they don't really need anyone to get them back there. I mean, obviously a running back, but they just need someone else to help at least slow down Tyreek Hill or catch him when he starts to break free. I mean, it's something. Maybe a cornerback and get someone in the cornerback position in the draft, or I know there's a couple corners that are coming out in free agency this year too. But my main focus, and I've said this for a while with this team, is the running back position for them. Josh Allen can't do it all.
I couldn't agree more. Yes, they drafted Zach Moss and Devin Singletary the past 2 years, but those guys are not the answer. It's proven right there that they're not, especially when your quarterback's leading the team in rushing the past couple seasons now. It's not the key, not the way to go. I think what they need to do with that first-round pick, I'm going to say right now, they need to draft Najee Harris. First-round pick, draft him. Boom, scooped him up, you're good to go. Then work on that defense the rest of the way. Your O-line plays pretty well. Receivers, you're set with John Brown, Cole Beasley, and Stephon Diggs. Knox is in a bad tight end. Offense is good then. Just get that running back. Boom, you're set for the offense. Work on that defense. Build that up.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's kind of hard if you're in the AFC or in the NFL in general. I think the way you have to look at it now is, instead of us trying to keep up with the Chiefs, how are we going to slow them down?
Yeah.
And not even the Chiefs in general. I mean, I think more in the AFC, it's more about the Chiefs. But, I mean, looking at what Tom Brady's done these past few games, how are we going to be able to slow them down? I mean, the Packers figured it out second half, but just couldn't pull it together like we said. But I think the NFL has definitely turned into more, how can we slow them down and stop them from scoring? So I agree. Secondary would be a big help for them.
All right. So next week we'll be back. We'll break down the Super Bowl. I wish I could talk about the Pro Bowl, but we really can't because it's canceled, not happening, but they still made Pro Bowl teams. So there's that for you. You can check that on ESPN and Bleacher Report. Pro Bowl teams going down, breaking all that down. I just know the Cowboys got 0 guys on the Pro Bowl roster. So good job, Cowboys. You played great this year.
I think Redskins have 2, or the football team have 2.
Chase Young and I want to say
Brandon Sheriff.
Yeah, the Lions, sure, if that's what it was. Moving on to college basketball, everyone's favorite sport to talk about, my favorite sport to talk about. And we're just going to give you the breakdown of the past week, starting off with the game last Friday in Michigan at Purdue. You and I were talking about that game last week, and you actually thought that actually said that Purdue could win this game. I remember you said that. I said, nah, Michigan's going to have a good bounce back, and they did. Great bounce back, won by 17 points in that win on the road. Led by Isaiah Livers, 22 points that game. So I think they played a good job on the road in that game.
They did. I watched this game, and they looked really good. Surprisingly, Purdue, I mean, I thought it would be a little bit closer of a game, but Michigan, they're looking really deadly.
They are. They're going to have a great year. I know that for a fact. I'm thinking they're going to be an Elite Eight team, depending on the side of the bracket. Depending on that side, that's for sure. Moving on to Saturday, like I said, it's a big Saturday week we had. Let's just kick it off with the Big East, like you want to talk about. You love the Big East. That UConn-Creighton game. That UConn team, they're pretty good. I'll say that right now, but Creighton pretty be a little better, winning that game 74-66 in that one at home. What are your thoughts on that game?
I think it was a great game to watch overall. Creighton snapped their 2-game losing streak. I think, like I said last week, I think they were going to come out just wanting to snap that streak. They have too many good players on that team. Their best player didn't even have the most points and put up the best stats and had the best game for them. It was Denzel Mahoney, who had 20 points and 3 rebounds, and he was dominant that game, very dominant.
He was 20 points, that young cat, and I like Creighton too. I like they're fun to watch. I like McDermott as a coach. I've been kind of like you said, McDermott fan since he coached his son Doug. So you can say that's when I started watching that Creighton team a lot more and focus on them. But they're always a very big sleeper, you can think.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people always pick and go to like the Sweet 16 every year. Moving on down to the ACC, we talked about this Clemson on the road to Florida State. You and I both said Florida State's going to make sure Clemson has a 3-game losing streak, which they did. Florida State didn't just beat them. They pretty much decimated them at home, beat them by 19 points in that home win. And if you look at about it, the scoring was pretty much even across the board for Florida State guys. I mean, Gray, 11 points. I'm not going to say Krupovechka, 13 points. MJ Walker, 10 points. So, it was a very even game for them. But what helped them the most was their bench. They played all players in that game, even if it was 3 minutes. I mean, when the guys who played 3 minutes got 0 points, but the guy who played 5 had 2 points. So this Florida State team, I think, is going to be a solid team. Solid team.
I think they're going to be a solid team too. I mean, this game showed it. Clemson's, like we said, they're a good team. They've just played pretty tough teams back to back. Traveling to Florida State was definitely going to be a tough game, and we knew that for Clemson, especially on that losing streak that they were on. But Florida State just came out hot, and I mean, they put up 42 in the first half. Not really much Clemson could do against Florida State, pretty much all game, and they just looked like they were having fun out there. And I think that's what really has been the momentum for this Florida State team. I mean, lost 2 games, but you're sitting at 9-2 and 5-1 in the ACC. I think they love where they're at, and their 2 losses aren't to terrible teams either. So you gotta love where you're at for Florida State.
Couldn't agree more. Moving on to SEC. My favorite team to bet on, my favorite team to watch in SEC this year is the Missouri Tigers. Going on the road into Knoxville, playing the number 6 team in the country at the time, Tennessee, and getting a 9-point win. Crazy about this game, I bet the Missouri plus points in this one. Missouri was an 8.5 underdog in this game. 8.5. Well, let's think about it. They won by 9, so I won that bet. Haha. Xavier Pinson led the way with 27 points for the Tigers to get the big win. They're up at half by 6, and they just kept on going in the second half and won the game by 9 points. I'm telling you, I like the Missouri team a lot.
Yeah, I was shocked when I saw. I didn't watch the game, but I was shocked when I saw that outcome. I was not expecting that at all.
And then the last game I want to touch base on this day was in the Big Ten, your Buckeyes. Your Buckeyes are traveling into Wisconsin, looking for a solid win. Wisconsin looking to hold that top 10 spot. And Ohio State comes in, stuns them, beats them by double digits, perfectly 12 points in that one. They won by 74-62. Led by E.J. Little, 20 points. Thoughts on your Buckeyes?
It's a good team this year we have. I think they've done a great job recruiting and bringing in some transfer players who have experience for the young guys. it was exciting watching this, or it's been exciting watching this Buckeyes team, and it was really exciting watching this game, watching them get this upset. Just wish they could pull off some other wins against the worst teams, and they could maybe be a top 10 team. But
It seems like everyone has trouble with Maryland.
mhm.
That's what it is. Everyone has trouble with Maryland. That's the big one right there. Moving on to Monday, we're in the Big 12, a big top 20 match we had. We had WVU taking on Texas Tech in Morgantown. Caleb, I know you want to talk about this game a lot because one of your favorite players, Mac McClung, dropped 30 points in that game. But your homeboy, WVU Mountaineers, won the game by Miles McBride's pretty much buzzer beater, go-ahead jumper with 6 seconds left on the clock to get the push in an 88-87 win.
I was scared watching this game. Honestly.
Down by tied at half. It was a solid first half.
Down, I think they were down 18 at one point, came back and won. Mac McClung, man, he is unreal. I've been saying it for a while, and he proved it last night or Monday night on national television. And putting up 30 points against a West Virginia team who's really hasn't been known for their defense this year, but has been known for their defense in previous years. Still a good defensive team because of Bob Huggins, but for him to put up 30 points on the road like that is phenomenal. And if he comes back next year, him and Dax are going to just go back and forth, I feel, and it's going to be fun to watch. They have another meeting later on this year too, which will be fun to watch.
Did you see Bob Huggins' press conference?
I didn't.
His exact words were, "I'm glad that I'm coaching guys who want to be here and are playing for everyone but not themselves."
Yeah, I saw he posted something on Twitter about that. It was kind of wondering if it was a little shot, but
Yeah, I think it kind of was. I think it was.
But I mean, honestly, I'm gonna say this: they looked a lot better than they did with the Sheboy out there.
Yeah.
It looks like they can spread the floor better. They can seems like they can shoot the ball better, and it opens up the paint for Culver, which I love. I mean, the way he's been dominant this year, he's just now been named top 10 for top centers in college basketball this year. So he's having a great year, and I think this WVU team is going to have a great year and pretty good run.
Yeah, once they get out of that little funk they had with Sheboy there, they're going to start working on a way how to not pretty much include that role anymore. Oh, they're going to kick it off great. Because if you look at that, too, it's pretty much like they don't got to share the ball between Big O and Culver anymore. It's just Culver. So they can just focus on interpreting that a lot, and they're going to make a good run. I'll say that right now. Moving on to the next night, we're going on Tuesday. Big one in the Big 10. I mean, Big 12. My bad, Big 12. Oklahoma traveled into Texas. Oklahoma with a late free throw lifts them in an 80-79 win over the Longhorns in Austin. Thoughts on that Oklahoma team, who is a very good team and very underrated and very undertalked?
I was going to say a very underrated team because just Saturday they got that upset against Kansas too at home. And for them to knock off two top 25 teams, two top 10 teams back to back, it shows, I mean, like we said, Big 12, you have your Big East, Big 10, Big 12. And Big 12's proven that they're that good. You know, if you're unranked, you still have a chance to beat top 10 teams. You just got to go in and play. And I mean, we've seen how good this Texas team is, and it's kind of shocking to me that this Oklahoma team went in and beat them like that.
Couldn't agree more. That concludes the recap of the week. Only big games that happened, you could say, that happened because other ones got postponed and canceled. I was looking forward to the Oregon-UCLA game last night. I was also looking forward to the Villanova-UConn game. Both games got postponed, so that's kind of a bummer. I was looking for that, especially that Big East one, because how UConn plays at home, but it didn't happen. But we're going to focus on the upcoming games of this week. Starting with tonight's game, we got number 7 Iowa taking number 19 Illinois. That's a team, Illinois, that Caleb loves the most. He loves that duo they got. And do you think that they can take down Luke Garza and the Hawkeyes?
It's going to be a tough game, but I think they can do it. I just think overall they're going to be a better team, coming off a little bit better of schedule-wise. And like I said, I just think they're a better team. I think that duo is just going to be a little too much for their guards and then I mean, Luke Garza, I think, can handle his own against DeSumo. Or sorry, Coughlin, but I think DeSumo is just going to be too much for their guards.
I look for a high scoring game in this one. That's for fact. But I think Iowa can hold their own on the road in Illinois. I do think that. I think Iowa can come out with a victory on the road. That's what I'm saying with. Moving on to Saturday, we have the SEC Big 12 Challenge. And this is always the best one. I'll admit that. Usually it's the AC Big 10, but this past year it was not. And I'm looking forward to these SEC Big 12 matchups, especially one at noon yesterday, tomorrow. Keep saying yesterday, tomorrow. One at noon. Number 9, Alabama. Think about that. Number 9, Alabama in basketball. A number 9, Alabama in basketball. All right. Takes on number 24, Oklahoma, two high-power shooting teams who know how to dominate and score, especially Alabama. I know that for a fact because Alabama cost me one bet because I bet the under, but they almost scored themselves the total amount of points I needed for it to be under. But it didn't. That's one of my favorite ones. Also got Florida traveling to Morgantown. That's going to be another good one. Then you got falling in the same thing. You got Kansas taking on Tennessee in Tennessee. And looking over the AC, you got Virginia versus Virginia Tech. Two top 25 teams right there. Out of those games, Caleb, what is your favorite one to look forward to watch?
Probably is going to be this Oklahoma-Alabama game. I think this is going to be a real test for Oklahoma. I mean, if they would be able to pull off 3 top 10 wins in a row, it would be incredible for that program and for that team. But I think this is the perfect matchup. You know, that this Alabama team can score. They have 4 guys who are above 12 points a game. I mean, you said it yourself. You lost money on watching them play or betting on them. I watched them play 2 nights ago against Kentucky, and this Alabama team's really good. I think it's going to be a tough game for Oklahoma, and I think Alabama's going to come out on top.
Yeah, that is definitely my favorite game to watch of the whole entire Saturday, mainly because it's 2 very, you could say, non-popular basketball programs. They're very popular in football. You never really see them talked about in basketball. You saw Oklahoma talk about in basketball mainly when Trae Young was there. But other than that, you really never hear about Alabama. So I'm liking this game a lot. But if I'm looking for another game, I'm going to go to AC1. I'm going to look forward to that Virginia Tech game, the in-state rivalry they got going. Virginia has been playing pretty well the past 3 games. I mean, Virginia Tech has also been doing the same exact thing. And this game is supposed to happen early in the year, but is now happening finally now. So it's kind of a very big preparedness you had for it, the difference in the time. So I'm looking for that game as well.
I think that one's going to be a good one.
Couldn't agree more. Looking on Monday night, February 1st, we got a game where Oklahoma is in another big one. Number 24, Oklahoma is traveling to number 10, Texas Tech. Just think about that schedule so far. You play Kansas, then you play Texas, now you play Alabama, now you're playing Texas Tech. 4 top 10 teams as of right now in a stretch.
It's going to be a fun week for them.
And the Oregon-UCLA game was supposed to be played that night, but it got postponed. So it's another day I got to wait for watch that game. But the Oklahoma-Texas Tech game, I'm looking for Mac McClung to go off. He's going to go off.
I am too. He's returning back home. I think he's going to be hungry for a victory. I mean, they have the game tomorrow, but I think he wants to redeem himself back in Big 12 play. And I think he's going to prove himself as being one of the top scorers in the Big 12, one of the top scorers in college basketball.
Couldn't agree more. Then moving on to Tuesday, we got a big Tuesday night in the Big 12. Number 2, Baylor, traveling to number 5, Texas. A top 5 matches we've been waiting for a while.
This Baylor team is ridiculously good. I turned it on their game 2 days ago, I think, against Kansas State, and turned it off right away. I mean, they were blowing them out, and they just weren't letting off.
They put up 107 points in that game.
Well, and they weren't like letting off the gas at all. They were just go, go, go. And I think it's going to be the same thing with this Texas team. I mean, we've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. I think it's Gonzaga, then Baylor, and then everyone else. So I'm taking Baylor in this one.
I like Baylor for sure on the road in this one. I think Texas is a loss to Oklahoma. There's kinks. A lot of work that needs to be done on that 3-point shooting to be exact, honestly. And I think that can be a big difference maker for this Baylor team because they know how to stop you. They know how to run. Running guns, what they play by, and I think it's going to carry over into that game against Texas. No really good games will happen on Wednesday except for you can say one. It's an ACC. You got number 25 Louisville traveling to Syracuse. Syracuse is always good at home, and I'm looking for Syracuse to get the upset in this one.
Ooh, I like Louisville in that one. I think Chris Max, while Louisville was and has been a blue blood, they kind of fell off after Patina, and I think he's kind of turning that program back around to being a blue blood, slowly but surely. So.
Yeah, if you just look at Syracuse's record, their losses are on the road. They don't lose at home. Like, they beat Virginia Tech by 18 points at home.
Yeah.
That's why I like them in this game. And Louisville on the road doesn't play that well either. They literally just lost to Clemson on the road by 4 and then lost to Miami on the road by 6. So Syracuse averages more points per game too, 77.9 per game. Louisville averages 69.1. So I like that one. Yes, Louisville's coming off a big win last Tuesday against Duke. You can say that. But other than that, Duke's down year. This is Duke's down year. Again.
That's true.
Second time in 5 years. Don't get me started, Caleb. On Thursday, we got another big game. In the Big Ten, your Buckeyes traveling to the Hawkeyes. Number 13, Ohio State taking on number 7, Iowa. You think your Buckeyes can pull off an upset in this one?
I think so. We apparently play really good against good teams. So
Of course you do.
I'm taking them all the way in this one. Like I said, I mean, the way they played against Wisconsin, the way they played against these other teams who have been ranked, I think they can play with almost anybody. I mean, it's just when they go up against those bad teams like Purdue, or I'm not saying bad teams, but teams that you would expect them to win by at least 10, they somehow blow it.
So, out of all these games you talk about for this upcoming week, what is your favorite one to look forward to?
Ooh.
Threw a little curveball at you.
Honestly, I still gotta go with that Alabama.
That's what I'm
on the
thinking.
one.
That Alabama
Because
game.
I'm just thinking that it's gonna be such a high scoring and just good game overall. And again, I'm really curious to see if Oklahoma can get 3 straight wins, top 10 wins in a row.
Imagine they get 4, but they beat Texas Tech on the road.
It'd be huge.
Would be huge. That concludes the college basketball best games of the upcoming week. Come back next week, we'll recap all the games, especially that one on Saturday between Alabama and Oklahoma. Because that's going to be our number one game to talk about pretty much. Moving on to NBA. We're not really going to talk about the games, but we're talking about more of the trade rumors. Caleb, the trade rumors I've heard mainly revolves around the New Orleans Pelicans guard Lonzo Ball and the Washington Wizards guard Bradley Beal. The only really real trade I had heard out of both those was Lonzo being traded to Golden State for Kelly Oubre.
I kind of like that for Golden State.
Yeah.
At least. I mean, that seems kind of like a terrible trade on Pelicans' part because I saw earlier today they added. I don't know if JJ Redick was removed from the list, but I did see that they did add Eric Bledsoe to that list of people they wanted to trade with Lonzo. So, I mean, it just seems like they're just trying to clean house down there and just start over with Zion. I mean, well, I don't know. I don't know what's going on down there.
And then
It's very shocking to see, especially since they made it to the playoffs last year.
No, the Pelicans didn't. They missed out.
That's right. They lost.
They went 2-4 in the bubble.
That's right.
And the Bradley Beal one, it's just because he's not happy. I mean, he's playing phenomenal right now. But he was asked in a press conference, he said, are you dissatisfied with what the team's playing right now? He said, is the sky blue?
Yeah, I've seen some reports where he doesn't want to leave DC. He's just unhappy with how the team's playing, but they've been bad for years. And if Beal goes to a good team with other players around him who can compete, that team's automatically a contender. So I think the Wizards might be interested in some deals, but I'm sure not too long ago, I'm pretty sure he signed an extension not too long ago.
Yeah, last year when we had All-Stars.
So,
Did you get any more trades out there?
the only other two I heard was D Rose is getting interest from the Knicks. I didn't see who they wanted to give or what,
You want
but
him
I
back?
see apparently. And then the Nets are looking to get JaVale McGee from the Cavs to add to their little super team there in Brooklyn, because it's pretty obvious they need a big man.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you get when you trade away Jared Allen. Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Dumbasses. So that's all the NBA update we have for you. We'll come back next week, give you another one, talk about some, we'll talk about some potential best games the following week. We'll start doing that for the NBA since the Super Bowl is coming up and we don't got to talk about NFL anymore for a little bit. To end the episode off right, Caleb and I came with a great little segment, the top 5 most impact college football players this past season. It just isn't based off of popularity. It's based off like what they meant to the game, I'd say. The impact they had on the game, and their performance was great on the field. And I think it also, we're going to put in effect, their draft stock got boosted because of the way they played as well. The impact on the way they played on the field boosted their draft stock, and they can be a potential first-round pick. So, Caleb, kick me off with your number 5.
My number 5 has to be Zach Wilson from BYU. Obviously, leading them to an 11-1 record, getting a bowl win over UCF. He had 3,692 yards, 33 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Obviously had a great performance on the field, but I mean, we can go back to previous episodes where we've said that BYU and Cincinnati are 2 main reasons that we feel NCAA is going to look at this previous year, and say, okay, we might need to up our playoff. And, you know, he was a big reason of why. And look at him now. He's predicted top 10 in the draft.
I heard him predicted top 5. I heard him over Justin Fields.
I did see him going number 4 at the Falcons in a couple drafts.
Exactly. My number 5 guy is Elijah Moore, the wide receiver at Ole Miss. All you heard about was Devontae Smith all year long, and this guy went under the radar. 86 catches, 1,193 yards, and 8 TDs, and he solidified himself being a top 3 receiver in this upcoming draft behind Devontae Smith and the guy who led the way last year, Jamar Chase, who sat out this past year. So I think Elijah Moore made a great impact to prove himself, and he did.
My number 4 is Kadarius Toney, wide receiver from Florida, who also had a great year. He produced 4 100-yard performances in his final 5 games, had 153 yards in the SEC championship game where they eventually lost to Alabama, and would have had an even better game if he would have played in the bowl game that they were in. But again, boosted his draft stock and had Kyle Trask on the boards and putting up numbers all year.
Couldn't agree more. And my number 4 guy is at the American Conference, Zaven Collins, the linebacker out of Tulsa. 54 tackles, 7.5 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, 4 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 defensive TDs. He boosted his draft stock this past year and got him solidified to be a top 20 pick. They're saying top 10. He's the best linebacker in this draft, they're saying, and he's from a small conference, small school who made the American Conference Championship game. And look at him now.
I agree. My number 3 is Spencer Ritter, Cincinnati quarterback, who, again, going back to the BYU thing, proved that they need more teams in playoffs. And he's returning next year, really put on for the Cincinnati program. And I think they're going to be pretty good to be reckoned with in these next couple of years with him returning. And I mean, again, like we said with playoffs, if you get the chance, or even if you're in the top 8, your recruits are going to boost up. You're going to get those 3-4-star guys that you weren't getting. So congrats to him.
My number 3 guy is Kyle Pitts, the tight end out of Florida. The reason why he's on my list is, 1, he had 43 receptions, 770 yards, and 12 TDs. But the main reason why is you can see how big of an impact he had for Florida's team by him not playing in that bowl game. How bad they got blown out, and how, because he was not there. And he is definitely the best tight end, top 10 pick, solidified that this past year. Big, stalky guy. Got to have him on the list, man. The impact he had on the field is incredible. They knew they got to go target him, and it proved.
Yeah, I agree. He was phenomenal this year, and he'll be phenomenal in the league. My number 2 guy is Jared Patterson, and we've talked about him enough on this show, but he had to be on here. I mean, the performances he had this year were phenomenal. Led Buffalo to a 6-1 record, first in the MAC, and I think he's going to be one of the best running backs out of this draft. I really do. If he goes to the right team and gets a good O-line in front of him, he'll be deadly in the league.
See, that's the reason why I didn't put him on my list, because I knew you would. That's exactly why I knew you wouldn't put him, because he would have had this spot number 2. But my number 2 is Najee Harris, running back at Alabama. 251 carries, 1,400 yards, 26 CDs, rushing, 43 receptions, another 425 yards receiving, and 4 TDs. I think this season solidified him as one of the best backs in the draft. And I think his performance in the SEC title game and in the college playoffs, he's a first-round pick. And this is why I think Buffalo needs to target him. If they don't get him, they got to draft Jared Patterson. It's just an in lock they got to. They have to do something. Those 2 are the best backs in this draft, I feel like. And he proved himself.
I agree. My number 1, and I really honestly didn't see anyone else who I could put here, is Devonta Smith. I mean, just going off the year they had, how incredible it was watching him play, watching him get better over the years. And he put in his time at Alabama. He grinded, and I think he deserves his number 1 spot. Had 117 receptions, 1,856 yards, and 23 touchdowns. And did you know this? He averaged over 15 yards per catch every single year he was at Alabama.
I didn't know that one at all.
Yeah. Averaged over 15 yards every catch.
And see, that's another reason why I did not put him on my list, because I knew you would too. But my number 1 guy was your number 5 guy, Zach Wilson. The swagger he brought, I'm not going to listen to stats because you already listened. The swagger he brought to BYU, you can say, spotlight he put on BYU, like you brought up a great point. I think he's the sole reason why they're talking about expanding the playoffs. It's the biggest talk you ever heard about now than ever before, and it's because of him. Not because of Cincinnati, Desmond Ridder. It's because of Zach Wilson, because he was in a run for Heisman. Desmond Ridder wasn't. And everyone was pretty much thinking, why would a kid from BYU can't make the playoffs be in the run for the Heisman? Like, why? Why is he there? Why is he there? But this is why they're talking about expanding the playoffs, is because of him. And like I said, he's a top 5 pick. They're already saying over Justin Fields. They're saying him going to the Jets, Justin Fields going to the Lions, number 7 overall. It's just crazy the talk and the flip-flop you see between the 2 of them, and how he's being compared to Power 5 quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence, Fields, Mac Jones, Kyle Trask, and you got an independent guy named Zach Wilson in the mix, plus Trey Lance from AA, but you know what I'm saying. But he's the reason why there's a talk for playoffs expansion. He's the reason why BYU got put on the map, and he's the reason why BYU went 11-1. And he almost won 12-0 if the receiver could dive 2 yards, get a touchdown over Coastal Carolina. But that concludes my top 5 most impact college football players this past season. Come back next week. We'll think of another quick little segment we can talk about to do a top 5 thing. And honestly, we might do something with the NFL, since the NFL's closing up after next weekend, Super Bowl. So we'll do something with that as well. I got it right now. Top 5. Ready for it, Caleb? Quick thought right here on the mind, on the spot. Got it right now. Top 5 most impressive players who improved from last year. Bam. Got it.
There we go. It's a good one.
So, Caleb, that concludes the episode. That was a quick episode, I feel like.
It did feel quick, but it was a good one, and it was pretty packed, too.
It's always good when we do it.
Seemed pretty packed in a short time.
Couldn't agree more. So say peace, love, and goodbyes, Caleb.
Well, guys, like Mackie said, that is another episode. We appreciate you guys for joining us. Episode 104. We will see you guys next week. Like, subscribe, leave us a comment. Let us know who you thought were the top 5 performers, most impactful players in college football. And we will see you guys next week.
Like Caleb said, like, subscribe, and share, and comment on our post to see what you want to think. And list your top 5 most impact players this past year. We want to hear your opinion. We'll give your thoughts on that too when we see the comments. But come back next week. We'll give you a breakdown of the Super Bowl and who we think is going to win with a score prediction as well. And Caleb, I'm sorry you would not win this year in the picks because I have a 6-game lead over you. There's 1 game left, so do the math. Just saying. And we'll also recap the college basketball week with another best games the following week and talk about the NBA, the best games of that week as well. Then break down some more NBA and then end it with the top 5 most impressive players who improved from last year in NFL season. I'm Matt Mackey, live from West Virginia. Peacing out of episode 104. Come back next week for episode 105. Like I said, peace.
Craving, started shoebox saving, made some puzzle placements. I know what this life gon' come with. Know that they gon' go and hate it. When you make it, they gon' switch and say they love you in replacement. This shit is just dedication. No 6